everyone, it's Bobby from Dig Coding here, and this is a brand spanking new playlist. It's the first video in the building a reusable Django app playlist on YouTube. And if you've been following along on this channel, you'll know I've got another playlist called Building and Launching a Real Django Project. So at the end of that playlist, I promise that we'll be building out more features to our website. The website that we built in that playlist, link to which is up here, is diddemo.com. If you go online, you can see it. It looks fantastic, but it wasn't doing too much at the end of that playlist. This is the first part of building out new features. This is a newsletter app that we're building, so it'll have all of the functionality to allow our users to subscribe to a mailing list for our newsletter. And if they don't want to be part of that mailing list anymore, they can unsubscribe and tell us why. That's all the app will be doing. Obviously, we can flesh it out a little bit more with time, but it will be packaged up, it'll be coded in a way that will allow us to remove it from the project, package it up, and then we can install it using pip. That is a reusable app, and it's very, very helpful. It saves us having to keep repeating ourselves with the same code over and over again in different projects. So that is what we're doing. Like I say, it's a brand spanking new playlist. If you're new to this channel, then please subscribe, please like, and please share the content, as it's a massive help. So please follow along. This is the first video. Let's look at my screen. Okay, so you can see that it's opened up straight away on Sublime Text, which is my text editor that I've been using throughout these projects. And this is the Did Demo project. I've already got CMD open, and I've already got a local server running. So we can actually see the project. If I open up my browser, Did Demo, just refresh the screen there. I did add a pop-up, which I haven't spoken about. I'm just using Suite Alert 2, which allows me to pop this up and say this website was built as a demo for Dig Coding's YouTube channel. Okay, so you can visit actual Dig Coding. I've got affiliates on there, and I've got discounts and all sorts of fancy stuff, a Patreon page. But as for the demo page, we haven't got much. So if you click stay here, you can then look through, and it has all of our videos that we've added online and whatever else. But what we haven't got is a newsletter. So that's what we're going to be jumping into today. Don't know how far I'm going to get in this video, but there'll probably be 5, 6, 7 videos, I don't know, in this playlist. However many it takes to build out an app, package it up, and be in a position to install using pip. So let's open up the CMD. Let's crash out the server, and we'll say Python manage.py start app, and we'll call this newsletter. Okay, and if we open the Sublime Text again, Did Demo, we've now got an app called Newsletter here. So what we need to do is we'll need to go into settings. We'll need to add that app into our installed apps. So I'll try to keep these all in the same place. So we'll have the Django installs, and then we have the apps that we build out, and then we have any third-party apps. So we've got the one-time passwords, we've got the maintenance mode, but I like to keep these, try to keep them in order. So we will add newsletter there and save. And then what we do, by the way, I've got some notes on the other screen, so I'll keep referring to them just to keep me on the straight and narrow. So what we'll need is a new file, and we'll want to call this URLs, save as, Did Demo, we want to go in newsletter, and we want to call this urls.py. And save out having to type everything, because you're going to need to import views, path. If you're using regular expressions, you'll want URL. It saves doing that. What I always do when I'm in a project, I will normally just open up a previous file, just copy it all across. You will know already that my typing skills are terrible. Newsletter, and no, let's keep one of those. So views, path, and the app name is newsletter, and we will have a URL in here called news-letter. The name will be newsletter, and we're going to be referencing a view that we haven't built yet, but we'll build it in a second. So it'll be newsletter view. we go, as view, fine. So that's the URL file, done. We will need, let's have a little look, what have we got? We need to, let's build out a view just so that we don't have any errors in our command prompt, because we're now referencing a view that's not there. That will have a bit of a Barney. If I was to run server now, that's going to tell me off. So what on earth are you doing? You don't know what you're doing. It's actually didn't do that. It's because we're not actually calling the URLs in the URL conf. So we'll do that quickly. There we go. We'll have it here. So from newsletter.urls, namespace, newsletter, now it will have a Barney. It won't like that. There we go, because we're referencing a view that you can see there that we haven't created yet. So let's go into newsletters, .view, there we go, views here. And it's just a blank canvas. So what we'll do is we'll need, what are we looking at? We're looking at a template view. We need to bring in a model newsletter. We've got, yeah, okay. So we've got a whole bunch of things here. So we'll keep it, we won't do the views yet. We'll actually build the models because we're going to be referencing the models in the view itself. So we'll build out the model quickly. So let's go here and go class, and we'll call this newsletter. Whenever you're doing something like this, just be cautious calling your models certain names, because the app's called newsletter. You might call the form newsletter, and there could be some problems with naming different models and classes and things like that. So we'll have class meta, and we'll have, do you know what, look, I'm not going to type this out. All you're doing is watching me type. So I'm just going to look at my notes. I'm going to bring everything across and then walk you through it, okay? I built this app 2 or 3 days ago, so I'm going to walk you through. So I've just copied and pasted it all across. So we're importing time zone, so we'll need that. Models was already there. We're bringing in the user app from Django, so that's the built-in user app from Django. We've got the URL encode. That's probably a hangover. We probably don't need that. Oh no, we have got it here. So get the params. And render, redirect, and import random. So we are in this model. When a user signs up to the newsletter, it creates a token against that object in the database. That token is being referenced, or going to be referenced, as a URL link in every email that we send to the user, so that if they click on the unsubscribe, it will then direct them to a URL with some parameters, and when they arrive to that URL, it will know that it's the right email, the right token, and the right reason code for the database to actually do something with it, or the back end to do something with it. So that's why we're generating a token. We're using random, so we're importing random, and we're creating a 10-digit random integer, or a string of integers, and we're returning the string there, and we'll be adding that to a field in the newsletter model. So this is class newsletter, pluralizing newsletter subscriptions. The ordering is timestamp. So we've got the timestamp here, models.datetime field, update datetime field. The reason I haven't got auto plus now, or I forget what the field actually is called, so to automatically add the date time when the object is created, is because some databases don't allow that. So SQLite doesn't allow that, Postgres does. So I've removed it completely just to make sure that this app, reusable app, is compatible with other projects, or most projects. So we've got an email field, max length 254. We've then got isUser. So we're using the app property decorator. So this function then becomes a property of the model itself. So isUser, so it's returning a Boolean, true or false. So if the email that is being passed through to this model matches an object that is in the Django user model, then it returns true. So what that says is that email is already being used by a user in the main database, so therefore this newsletter object has a user that is true. Does that make sense? And then the except on this try except statement is user does not exist, which case is false. So that will always be either true or false. So is active, so this is a Boolean. It defaults to true, I believe. Yeah, it does. The bossy name is subscribe to newsletter. And we've got a token, char field, maximum length 100. We don't need 100 yet, it can be 10. Null, true, blank, true. It doesn't. We don't need a token there. That the token is generated when the object is created, but if somebody was to unsubscribe, it just deactivates it, and we could potentially remove the token completely. You don't have to have the token there forevermore. We'll then overwrite in the save method in the model. So when this object is created, we're then adding the timestamp now to timestamp, time zone now to updated, and self.token. So it's then calling the token generator class and adding the token to the token field. You've then got reason. So the reason is a char field. The reason is the reason they're unsubscribing. So how we'll be managing that is in the settings. So in the settings.py file, we'll have a dictionary or an optional dictionary. So the dictionary can be added by whoever is installing this application, and they can tailor their reasons. So you can have don't want to be part of the mail list anymore, not interested in the content, whatever the case may be. You create a dictionary in the settings.py file, and those are the reasons that will be rendered to the templates, which is quite helpful. This is the dunder string method, so it's just rendering out self.email. Then we've got the app property decorator on get params. So this is creating an encoded parameter that is appended to the URL when we're creating a link on the emails that we send out to our users. This will all make sense a little bit later in the project. And then we've got the get absolute URL field here, which is a method that is part of the models. And we're returning /newsletter because that is the get the absolute URL. So that will be /newsletter-newsletter, and then we'll be appending the params, and that combined will create the unique URL that the users will be clicking on when they click on the email template. So that's the models. Let's save that quickly. And then what we'll do is we'll go into views and we'll just quickly create a class. Yeah, we'll bring in template view and we'll create no we're not. Look, I'm just going to bring it all in. We'll talk it through and I'll save it and I'll make the migrations. We'll make that the end of this video. Otherwise it can be too much to take in. So render comes in straight out of the box. We're bringing in template view, which is a generic template view or class view that Django has. They're very, very helpful. If you don't know much about them, then Google template view Django and look at the docs. They are magnificent. You get a lot of output, so you get a lot of good features using them class-based views, generic class-based views, with only adding a few lines of code. So have a look. From .models, import newsletter. That's the newsletter model we just created. From Django.http, import HTTP 404, and also the settings. So from conf, import settings. What we've got here is just a try and accept, so the reason dictionary. So we're trying to create this app as reusable as possible. So you need to make sure that variables that are required to make this app work are always pulling from a settings file, because every project, every Django project will have a settings.py file. So the user that imports this app will have an option. They can either add some variables, add some configuration, or not. And if they choose to not add some certain variables, then the app needs to be able to work anyway. So that's what this is doing. So if in settings.py, if there's a variable called unsubscribe dict, then we will use that dictionary as the variable called reason dict. If there's not, and there's an attribute error, so i.e. it can't find that variable, then we pass through reason dict equals empty dictionary, And that way, there's always a variable called reason dict that can be referenced later on in the project. So that's what we're doing. You just need to make sure that this is as standalone as possible. So we've then got the newsletter view. So you can see here we're calling in the template view, which we've imported at the top of the screen. And again, this is another try and accept with an attribute error. So we're looking for the newsletter redirect HTML. So this project will have newsletter HTML included. It's very, very basic. It'll be a white screen with just some very, very simple H1 elements in it. Or one single H1 element in it. We'll have some text in there. That's all it's going to be doing. Now, you're going to want to bespoke the HTML on these projects, right? So you're going to want to use your own templates. So it will default and use the newsletter HTML, which will be in the newsletter templates directory. However, if there is a variable called NL redirect HTML in the settings file, then it will use that template instead. So that's another effort to make this standalone. So we're then calling the get context data method, and we're calling the super here so we can get the context that we can actually then add to and pass through to the template. So we're trying to get the email, reason and token keywords from the get request, which will be the get params, which is in the model. So if we're passing through an email, a reason and a token, then it will get those and it will add sub to the context, which is true in this case. If there's email, reason and token, then we do this piece of logic. If there's not, we just pass the context with sub true, okay? Which will basically mean that this is a subscription, it's not an unsubscribe. Okay, that's what we're doing there. But if there is an email, reason and token has passed through, then we do this piece of logic, which is a try and accept. Again, if reason can be found in a reason dict, then reason text would be unsubscribed due to content not being relevant, whatever the case may be. This can be your own dictionary that you make in the settings file. However, if it can't find, so if we've got the try and accept key error, so if it can't find the key, then we have a key error and it will return reason text not specified. So by default, it will return not specified, okay? So if there's no dict at all, then it will just default to that. If there's a token, then we do another try and accept. Let me move that across a little bit. So the newsletter object, it will get the newsletter looking for the email field using the email, lowercase email has been passed through to the parameter because we want to make this as case sensitive as possible. So if there is capitals, email fields are a pain in the ass really because they will look at capitals. And if it's looking in a database for capital B OBBY at whatever.com, it won't find it if it's lowercase b. Okay, so I'm looking at email, I'm making it lowercase, and then token equals token. If it finds it, so we've got newsletter dot does not exist. So if it can't find that object, then it does a 404, newsletter subscription not found. So it raises a 404 error. So that will bring up our, if you remember, we added some bespoke 404 pages here. So that will bring up this page because we're overwriting the Django 404 error functionality. Okay, back to views. But if it does find the object, then it makes it inactive false. It adds the reason text. In this case, if it's an error, it's not specified, but that could be anything, and it adds that to reason. It saves the object, and then it changes the context keyword sub to false. So now the HTML that is being rendered knows that this action is being the template will know that this action is an unsubscribe, and it will show different text because we will have the logic in the HTML itself. So there we have it. Let's save that. Let's go into our CMD and we'll just crash out the server. Sorry, let's go that one, and then we'll go Python manage.py make migrations. And if I remember rightly, I work on so many different projects. Main migrations, delete model policy. Yeah, so I'm glad I just paused the screen there for the recording for a second. So this project has two databases. So we've got a user database which handles all of the user logic, if you remember, and we've also got a main database which handles everything else. What I will do is I need to add this. So it depends on who's installing this newsletter application, because if you've only got one database, you just need to make migrations and then migrate, right? But because we've got two databases, we need to tell this project what database to save this new app to, or the models within this app to. So we did that by adding database routers. And we've got route labels here. This is the auth router, and then we've got the main router. So we've got main. So in this one, I want to add newsletter, and that should work now. So this router is now saying that any model within the newsletter app will be saved to the main database. Yeah, that's all we need to do there. And if we go back to the command prompt and then go Python manage.py database equals, I'm gonna call this main DB, that is the right one. Oh yeah, I've got a typo there, my bad. Python manage.py. Oh, I forgot migrate. As ever, my typing is terrible. So is that working? Right, that's worked. Brilliant. So Python manage.py run server. Is that going to work? We haven't registered the new model to the admin page, which we'll do quickly now. So newsletter admin. So this would be, oh yeah, okay. So this is admin. How do we, I need to keep referencing the other apps because everything's different on here. So it's admin.site, right? So that's fine. Because the Django site is admin_site, that's right. So newsletter admin models newsletter, and we want to register newsletter. Copy, paste, and save that. Okay, we won't add it to the Django. Oh yeah, we would. Do you know what? We'll do it. It doesn't really matter. URL conf. So if I from main copy that down, import models as newsletter. And then we will media contact, so yeah, that's fine. Newsletter admin, so it's admin, ID, name, what have we got in here? We'll have email, because email will always be there. And then we will register that site, register that model to the admin site, which is the Django site, right? So that's the one we, the OTP sign in. Newsletter, and then we want newsletter admin. Save. Is that going to work? Dot models import newsletter. Can I import name newsletter from newsletter.models? Just because it's got a capital. Where are we looking? Where's the error? So, oh, it's in the admin, right? So let's close down that. Let's open up the admin. So where was it? Admin is here. It's because that's a capital, as is that one there. Is that going to let me? Yeah, that's going to let me. All good. Right, so let's call it a day in this video because it's been going on for like 25 minutes now. So let's call it a day. Just to recap, so we've just started a new app in the Did Demo project. We've called it Newsletter. We've created a URL. We've created a view, and we've tried to disassociate this app from the overall project as much as we can, rather than calling in classes and functions from other apps. Everything's coming from settings.py. Okay, so that's all we've done. We've got the model, we've registered the model, we've added the views, added the URLs. So in the next video, we will probably create the templates and the template tags and go from there. Great. Well, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like and share the content. And I'll be seeing you in the next video. Thank you. Bye-bye.